transfer into a hole and find hidden gems and buried treasures.
Good evening, you're listening to Hidden Gems and Buried Treasures here on CamGlen Radio 107.9 FM. I am John Fell, and I did promise you we'd have a little surprise and a very special guest on tonight, and I'm glad to say I am now hopefully joined by Mr. Tony Clarkin, the man behind Magnum. Hello Tony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much for joining us, Tony. First off, it's an absolute dream. I was very thankful to your daughter as well, because she arranged all this, and I think she does a wonderful job for you. And is her name Dion? I'm saying it the right way?
That's right, yeah.
That's right, that's great. First of all, Tony, featuring tonight The Valley of Tears, which is an excellent album, reworking of some of the ballad albums. And I know it was Dion's idea behind it. And maybe, can I ask, do you prefer the softer songs, or do you like the rockier ones?
Really, I don't prefer anything particularly rocky or ballad work. This all sort of came about by the record company saying to me, "We want you to write a book," which is like, what a laugh, you know. I mean, right, which I sort of went like, I definitely don't want to do that. So I spoke to everyone in the band, you know, and I said, I remembered Dion saying, "Why don't you do a ballad album, because you've written some good ballads and all that sort of thing," you know. And suddenly that came to me while I was talking to Ollie Hahn, the German record representative. And I suddenly came out with it. I said, let's do a ballad album instead. And he sort of went, "Well, okay, yeah, if that's what you want." He could see that I didn't want to do a book or whatever, you know. Like, so, I mean, that's how it came about, really. And I don't have a preference. I mean, I think you need some ballad on a rock album, maybe, you know. I mean, it's nice to have something you can really get emotionally involved in, I think. So.
Well, you certainly do that. I have to say, personally, your songs relate to me. I don't know, you're a storyteller. That's why I always keep thinking that's why I like Magnum. It's because the songs tell a story. They're not just pure, bland, 3-minute pop songs and gone. There's always something in it that clicks in my brain, think, oh, that makes me think. And I've thought that ever since I've been listening to you. And I know there's a few other folks here at CamGlen as well who are Magnum fans as well, and they have the same opinion. It's a band that once you get into, you continue to follow. It's not one of these bands you throw away after 3 seconds. So I think you do a marvellous job, I have to say, Tony, in your songs, if I don't mind saying that. I'll go back to the beginning. I originally contacted Dion, it must have been months ago. I sent her a question asking who influenced you. If I remember rightly, and the brain's not going, she said Buddy Holly. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. I mean, you're talking like 1959.
Yeah, exactly.
58, 59.
Not yesterday, but it got me thinking, how do you go from the bare sort of rock of Buddy Holly strumming his acoustic guitar to something like Soldier of the Line? They don't seem to be connected in any way, or to a layman's perspective anyway.
Well, you've got to remember there's a big gap in between. I mean, I think when I say I was sort of influenced by Buddy Holly, it was I'd come home from school and put Not Fade Away on as loud as I could possibly put it on the record player, and have my chips or something like that, and just listen continually to it. What I think I meant by saying I was influenced by it got me into music.
Right.
Rather than the type of music, although I still to this day love some of those Buddy Holly things, you know.
Well, that's what I always saying. I play the odd old rock and roll song on here because I say if there wasn't for that, there wouldn't be the likes of Magnum and all the other bands out there.
That's right, yeah.
They were the originators, basically. Can I move on a wee bit further up into the future now? And I remember seeing you with the old lineup, and then when you reformed, you brought in Al Barrow on bass because he'd been in Hard Rain, obviously. Yeah. Or as I like Bob says it, Al Barrow, his French counterpart. He's brought a certain amount of social media savvy with the fan page, etc. And do you think that's brought the band and fans closer together? And it's like a stronger unit, both at this point in time. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I mean, Alan's one of he's permanently on the computer all the time. And I mean, me, I'm not that sort of person. I tell you what I do when I go on. I'm looking, if I've written a title for a song or a lyric, I check on into the computer, I go, is there a CD or a film called this? And so invariably that's happened so many times that I've written something that, you know, is already being done, you know. So you have to bin that and carry on. And think of something that hasn't been used before. So that's what I use it for.
Right, I have to say, he seems to be always on that fan page. I've noticed that he comments or likes everything that goes on, so he obviously is in tune. He's obviously up with the, or I was going to say up with the kids. So I don't think there are many. Well, there are a lot of Magnum fans are kids now. I have noticed that at various concerts. The age range is so vast now. It's not just like I don't know if you heard me mention earlier on. I was at the Sabbath concert last week, and it was basically all guys around my age and older. There wasn't very many young people there, I have to say. But at Magnum, it seems to stretch from the weest to the oldest, and that's a great thing to see a band still pulling folks in like that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's great to see when you're looking at, and you see like a real cross section of human beings, really.
That brings me on to one of the questions I was going to ask you. When you play in Glasgow at the garage, you seem to have made the garage your home. I mean, I remember seeing you at the Barrowlands and various other places. Yeah. But the garage seems to have a special atmosphere, and especially at Magnum gigs, because I've been to a lot of gigs there, but Magnum seems highly charged and a very emotional evening. Do you feel the same way, or does the band feel the same way?
The whole band feel the same way, I've got to say. It's got to be one of the best places we play. And I know people all say, oh yeah, this is the best place, this is the best place. But it is absolutely electric. And it's like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Not that I've got any hair on the back of my neck, but it's a wonderful... I mean, I love Glasgow anyway. We always go out for Indian afterwards.
Right.
It's an absolutely great gig. I love it.
That's good to hear. I have to say I enjoy it. That's one of the highlights of my gig going year if you're up here in Glasgow. And I know a lot of people think the same way. In fact, there's one of the bands I played earlier, the Swamp-Born Assassins, who are from Glasgow. And I've just since found out in the last few days that their drummer, who I interviewed a few months ago, just before Christmas, is a big Magnum fan. And I hope he's listening tonight, because that came as a surprise, because the kind of music they play is totally at the other end of the scale from Magnum. So I was actually really quite surprised when I found that out. Sure. Sacred Blood and Divine Lies, well, personally I think that's the best thing you've done since Storytellers, basically because on the first listen I liked every song, and I remember listening to Storytellers and thinking, that's a fantastic album, this is the band I want to see. And Sacred Blood is the same, but I have since read and heard that you think it could be better. Is that what drives you on this quest for perfection?
Well, yeah, it certainly is. I'm not sure whether that's a proper quote.
Right.
But I tend to think the same as you, that I think it's our best album since Storyteller. I mean, I listen to Storyteller's Night these days, and of course, it's like it was made like 4 centuries ago. I tend to think, I listen to things and I'm thinking, wow, how old that sounds. But I mean, it's a long time since we did it, But Sacred Blood, I was real pleased with that. Everything seemed to come together real good, and I'm very pleased. I enjoy playing the songs off it as well. And there's always like a couple of things on albums that you record, and you always think, oh, if only I'd have done this, or if only I'd have done that. But I didn't have that on Sacred Blood. So I think that's probably a wrong quote.
Right. I'm glad to hear that, because I thought, they must want real perfection, because I think it's a fantastic album, as I was saying. But that leads me on to my next question. I remember reading way back, music industry's changed, you don't have record shops, blah, blah, blah. Bands used to bring out 2 or 3 albums a year. But you've brought out Sacred Blood, now there's Valley of Tears, and I believe you're writing for the next album. Does it feel like you've gone back in time, that it is back in the heyday of record making, because you can do your own thing so quickly now without record companies hassling you, etc.?
Well, I suppose, yeah. It's nice to keep the momentum going. That was one of the reasons Ollie Hahn, the German record company, said to us, write a book and all that, and I'm going, oh, forget it. And it was sort of a stopgap thing in a way. I was sort of panicking. So it wasn't that we went in and recorded all the songs, although lots of bits and pieces were re-recorded on When the World Comes Down, Bob's vocal, because it's a live track. I had to get him to redo it in the studio because it was all screwed up on the original take. So I did a couple of guitars as well, if I remember rightly. To be quite honest, I can't remember what I did now. It's written on the record, though. what we redid. It was all remastered and all that sort of business. So
I love the version of Lonely Night on it because it's totally different from every other Magnum sound. It made me think you could be sitting in the lounge of a hotel and that could be playing in the background, you know, and nobody would know it's a rock band that's actually playing that. I thought that was a fantastic version of that song, I really do.
Thank you.
Talking of writing songs, Bob, I mean, you mentioned before in various articles and interviews, Bob gets quite emotional, and I did particularly notice, only after I read about that, did I actually start watching Bob quite closely, which might be a freaky kind of thing to say, but he got very emotional, especially when he played Dreams. He sang Your Dreams Won't Die at the last gig. I could see the emotion coming through in that song. Do you write from an emotional standpoint? Is there something in your life's happened and you feel quite upset about it and you want to write about it? Or is it just purely you pick a subject, set of words, set of musical notes, and that's it? It's just cold, hard musical notes? Or is there an emotion behind Tony Clarkin, is basically what I'm asking?
Yeah, well, I try and find a subject that I know what I'm talking about when I'm writing the lyrics. So to start with, you've got to know what you're actually writing about. I mean, you can write a song without knowing anything and just write anything, really. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I tried to, lots of things I've researched, in fact, to make sure when I'm actually talking about the subject that I need, if it's mentioned at a time or a place or whatever it might be, I'll make sure that I'm telling the right story. I think it's really important to know what you're actually writing about. I have to write songs to subjects that move me.
Right. So there is an emotional element to it. It's not. Yeah. You always seem very reserved. I was half jokingly going to ask, do you still have the big frock coat and hat that you put on for a while for that austere look that you used to have? Because you're a lot more friendly looking now when we see you on stage.
Yeah.
But one of the things talking about writing songs is, having seen Ozzy during the week last week, and I was reading Lemmy's autobiography, he wrote a lot of songs for the likes of Ozzy. Have you ever written any songs for somebody else purely for them, not just a Magnum cast-off?
No, never. Certain people have done Magnum songs, and I do write songs that I would say wouldn't be suitable for Magnum, like in my computer, really. Right. I don't do anything with them. I don't think, let me write a song for whoever. Shirley Bassey.
I'd pay to see that one, Tony. I certainly would. I think probably the last question, because I don't want to keep you, you're a very busy man, is if your stint at the Rum Runner, the famous Rum Runner that always gets mentioned in every interview, hadn't led to anything and Magnum had not gone forward, what do you think you would have been doing?
I'd probably be doing what I'm doing. Do you mean if I wasn't a musician?
If you wasn't a musician, if the music hadn't worked out for yourself, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I really don't know. I have no idea. I've been a sort of, since I was 14, I had a guitar when I was about 11, I think, and had, sort of dreams of playing in a band from that time, and I'm 70 years old now. So like, it's a long time. So.
Yes, it's still young. That's just a quick question. How long do you think you can go on for, Tony? Do you just take it one day at a time and just say, well, we'll see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about what I'm doing now at the moment. I've finished all the songs for the new album.
Good.
And I'm in and out of the studio all the time. I'm doing about one day a week at the moment, purely because there's lots of other bands in the studio. And then it gets more intense. I mean, Bob and myself, we're doing this Rock Meet Classic.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So, I mean, that's like, I don't know, that's 15 dates or 16 all over Germany and Switzerland. But, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. It's like a 40-piece orchestra.
Oh, right.
A choir and a backing band and that, and some very well-known people. And I'm really looking forward to it. What I'm saying is I'm still really enjoying what I'm doing.
That's great to hear, I have to say. I hope when I get to your own age, I hope I still get the same enthusiasm for what I do as well. Well, can I just, I'll let you go now because I know you're a busy man, and say thank you very much for Tony for joining us here on CamGlen Radio. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honour, and I look forward to the new album and when you're back in Glasgow again. Thank you very much, Tony Clarkin.
Cheers, John.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
CamGlen Radio 107.9 FM.
Your voice,